Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to EV News Daily, special edition. Morning, Max. Morning, Molly. Hello to the kittens. Say hello. There we go. Two little black cats are keeping me company this morning. Why am I whispering? Welcome to EV News Daily Kitchen HQ. And why am I whispering? Well, Mrs. Lee is getting her beauty sleep upstairs. If I look at the oven clock, it is 12 minutes past 4. Which is an early start for me. And today we're off to London. I mean, I'm off to London every day because I work there, but this is a 90-mile journey to go to Tesla in West London. Park Royal is their showroom and their service centre, and that's the location where we get to see the Tesla Model 3 indoors for the first time. Goodwood Festival of Speed was the first time that we saw it. But now in a showroom, more time to look round it and play, not drive it, sadly. However, what's the story today and why am I excited about this for a car that's been on sale for a year and a half, halfway around the world where you might be listening? There's plenty of them driving past you. Well, I think this is the next stage of the story. This is the next step in the Tesla journey, because as big as the American market is, with respect, outside of the US, it is potentially a bigger market. Europe is a huge market for EVs. The supercharger network has been built out so ambitiously here as well. We love Tesla and all EVs as much as anywhere else in the world. So today will be interesting. Got loads of questions to ask about the exact pricing, when the configurator opens, left-hand drive, right-hand drive, finance, all those kind of things. Anyway, enough from me. I'm going to feed these two little monkeys, and then it's shower time. Next time I speak to you, we'll be in London. Well, here we are in sunny London. That's a lie. It's not sunny. It's wet and it's windy and it's December, and we're in somewhere called Park Royal in London. And if you're listening around the world and thinking, royal family, Buckingham Palace, yeah, it's about as least royal as this place gets. This is West London in a kind of, not a trading estate, it's on a main road on a big dual carriageway, but the kind of place where they have those big warehouses that they're like DIY warehouses and all that kind of stuff. And this is the location for a Tesla showroom and service centre. And this is what I haven't been to before. So I just came out of the tube station on the underground, and now it's time to find this. And the map, Google Maps, says it's about 30-second walk. So here we go. Heading, it's early doors, about 8 o'clock now. I'm an hour early. Hopefully, I think they open doors at 8. There'll be somewhere that I can sit down and have a look around, and then wait for the unveiling at 9. Looking forward to this. A couple of things that we know already. It's London and Manchester that these Model 3s are being shown in from today until 19th, I think, of December. Later this month, you've got 2 weeks. I read a couple of things. I've read if you're a reservation holder, bring your reservation number. You can look all around the Model 3. And I've also seen anybody can pop in and have a look. So maybe email them. Find out, because if you're just curious, then maybe it's a thing that you want to do. Maybe this weekend or something. Think, you know what, we're going to pop in and have a look at the Model 3. Well, there we are. I can just, coming over the crest of a hill as I walk down this road, and I can just see the big Tesla logo. They've got their big sign outside. This is kind of busy for first thing in the morning. Man, London gets busy. Car park is full. Mostly Model S's, to be fair. There's a couple of X's in that car park, but mostly S's. So let me pop my head in the door, and the next time I speak to you, I imagine I'll be inside, that showroom. Yes, it's a typical kind of Tesla showroom of big glass, where everything's glass, this one. Huge glass windows, and I can see, pride of place, in the middle of the showroom is a car under a cover. And there is no doubt in my mind, looking at the shape of that, that is the Model 3 under that silver silk cover they've placed over the top of it. Right, let me go inside. So to the left of me is a white Model S, and to the right of me is a lovely silver Model X, and then in the middle of that is the Model 3, all with barriers around it, and they're getting ready for people over the next couple of weeks to come and have a look at this. Let's get a little bit closer. So the lights are on, and as you can imagine, it is just detailed to be in perfect condition. So this is, if I get a little bit closer, okay, let me have a wander around the back. We're going to start at the back. Let's have a look. What's it badged up as? So if I wander around to the back of the car first, it's badged up as Model 3 dual motor. And so this is a dual motor. For those that were asking on the podcast, left-hand drive, so American spec cars that have come to the UK. So people on Twitter were asking me, is it going to be a right-hand drive car? And I was saying to them, I'm not sure they've made any of those yet. So this is an American spec car, and as expected, as predicted, the same spec that you would have seen at Goodwood earlier this year. It's an interesting story, the Model 3 coming to Europe and coming to London, because, of course, it's a car that's been on sale and has done millions, hundreds of millions of miles with customers all around America. And yet, here in Europe, we're just starting to get excited about it, really. And there's this new wave of excitement about the Model 3 coming to Europe. Okay, I'm going to have to grab a couple of people, first of all, who've just, the very first people in the UK to get their own private unveiling of the Model 3. Duncan and Pippa, thank you for joining us on the podcast. You've just had your first 10 minutes with the car. What do you think? Now you've seen it in the flesh.
I'm just blown over by it. So I put an order in on this beautiful car, not this car, but for a Tesla 3 on the 31st of March 2016, which was a long time ago now. And is it worth the wait? Yes. 2.5 years later, to see it now in the flesh, it is a stunning car and will just change motoring.
Pippa, have you seen one before? Because there was one in the country in Goodwood earlier this year.
Yes, no, just the first viewing of the 3. We've seen the S and the X, but no, it's beautiful, absolutely lovely.
Everything about it, it's the right size, it just feels right, but inside it feels really big.
When you get into the car, there is a lot of space, there's a lot of head height, there's a lot of, so I'm 6 foot and got in the back as well, and there's a lot of space there. You don't feel cramped, but yet it doesn't feel like it's an overly huge car. It proportions are, I think you're right, perfect for the UK. It's and don't get me wrong, I think the S is a stunner. I think the X is mighty, but the Model 3 fits perfectly in that gap between the two, and it is going to take the world by storm.
You've been waiting this long, but not too much longer to wait.
No, I think countdown has begun. I think, yes, hopefully next year be proud owners of the Model 3.
How will an EV, is this your first EV?
Yes.
Have you thought about how going electric will change the other little bits of your life, like your routines and things?
I think more comfort stops, which will be great, because we travel across to France, so I think it'd be perfect. We have a 5-year-old as well, so we always like to take our breaks. So yes, coffee's on the way to recharge. So.
Although saying that, to be able to do 300 or so miles, I mean, we normally stop every 150 miles to refill the coffee, and normally for the little one to find somewhere to go for a wee. So to be honest, it's the future, and when you've travelled across France and Europe, there are so many Tesla recharging points now. They are just springing up. The difference, we drove to Menorca 2 years ago now, and just seeing there how many places there are to charge the Tesla vehicles. So it's I think that range issue is becoming less of an issue, and if anything, it's only being propagated by the manufacturers of non-EV cars.
And your lifestyle changes as well, in terms of you get up in the morning and you get in a car that's got a full tank of fuel, whatever you want to call it. The way that you travel changes because it's always sort of just on charge.
And to be fair, whenever I get into my wife's car, it never has any fuel in it. So the first thing I have to do whenever I get into her car is go and find a fuel station. So to be fair, it's going to be really nice and novel to get into the car in the morning and find it's fully charged. It's going to be great.
You're going to be fighting over this now, aren't you? Who gets to go in it first?
We certainly are.
That's awesome. Well, look, you guys you had your own private unveiling this morning. That was really special.
That was very special. So here we were so set the scene. We were in front of this car. We had about a dozen Tesla employees around us, all in their Model 3 T-shirts, and the car was covered in this white silk. And at the appointed time, we were introduced to the car with the silk pulled away, and it was just inspiring.
It was. Congratulations. Many congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for joining us on the podcast. So there are 2 more people inside it right now. 2 more people are getting their first look at the Model 3. So what's this gentleman doing? So he's just got straight in, and the first thing he's doing is playing with that central touchscreen. So the first thing he's done is going to the menu, and he's using the scroll wheels on the left and right hand side of the steering wheel to move the steering wheel up and down to get his comfortable position. So that's the first thing he's done. So he's on the page on the screen at the moment where you can see which doors are open. You've got a top-down view of the car. So he's in the front seat. There's a chap from Tesla sitting next to him in the passenger seat, and either his friend or colleague is in the back seat right now. Let's have more of a look around this car then. And again, as you can imagine, I don't think this has ever probably been driven on the roads because it just looks... Oh, maybe it has. Let me have a look down. I guess if I really look hard, then maybe it's been driven here. But it's been detailed to within an inch of its life. I mean, if this car turned up on your driveway, you'd think it was absolutely brand spanking new. Nah, maybe it hasn't. Maybe it is brand new out of the factory. Or maybe it has been driven around a little bit. So we just heard from Duncan and Pippa. They're first-day reservation holders, and you know this man from Fully Charged and many other things. You're a reservation holder, aren't you, Robert Llewellyn?
Well, not directly as a person, as an individual person, but via a leasing company, I'm a reservation holder.
Oh, right. So I've heard you before talk about Drive Electric, and through them you've got your reservation.
Yes, through them I've got my reservation. So, yes, I don't buy cars anymore.
9 o'clock this morning, the covers were whipped off, and these chaps had their first look inside, and then you were a close second. Have you seen this before? You've been to America and seen this?
No, I haven't been. Johnny's been to America. I've sat in it at Goodwood this year. That's where I saw it. So I've had a look round. Yeah,
a slightly more relaxed look round today.
Yeah.
Something I say on the podcast, when you see one of these in the flesh, not just the video or photos, there's something very visceral about the shape that suits UK roads. And when you see one, it feels right, but that makes no sense.
No, I know. I mean, because that is my one criticism. It's the only criticism I can come up with the Model S. It's just too big. It's too big. I live in the Cotswolds. The lanes are quite narrow. When I meet someone coming the other way, I have to reverse. And it isn't that much smaller, but it's just a little bit, you can just tell it's a little bit tighter. It looks more European, it just suits here so much better. The interior does not feel smaller. It's brilliantly designed.
I saw you go straight in for the door handles. They make sense?
They do. The first time I saw them, I was nervous. I didn't dare touch it because I didn't know which bit to touch. But once you only do it once, and you go, oh, I see, you press that and it just sort of opens. Yeah, it takes a moment.
You've put 60-odd thousand miles on your Model S. How does this, when you first get in the 3, what are the big differences you notice straight away?
I suppose as a driver, the big thing is there's nothing in front of you. There's no dashboard, effectively. So that looks a bit like, oh, they forgot to put it in. It looks a bit naked. But Johnny's driven it quite a long way, and he said it's extraordinary how quickly you get used to the fact that you glance down slightly well, in this case, to the right, and see the speed. Well, he was very critical. He said, well, I need something in front of me. And he's always said they've got to do a heads-up display, which would be an easy thing to put on the windscreen. After driving it didn't worry him that everything is on that screen, that central screen. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't driven it yet, but I think I'd get used to it pretty quick.
The space in the back feels fantastic as well. This would suit a good-sized family. And
absolutely, yeah. Because I hadn't sat in the back till today, and the back's really nice. I'm really impressed. But it's better than the Model S.
Someone's polishing it. Someone's touched it. There's a fingerprint. Was that you?
Yeah, I think that was me. My smudgy coffee-stained fingers.
They have someone...
He's buffed it. It's looking beautiful now.
When you do these road trips, for people that don't own a Tesla, and we see your videos and you're all over the place and using the supercharger network, that's the big difference, though, with Tesla and all the others.
Yeah. When people don't know anything about the cars and they go, oh, Tesla's too expensive, and it's cruel, I just show them the map and say, this is where you can go in Europe. And they go, oh, my God. And I said, and all those chargers, are really effective. They always work. You don't need a card. If you pay for the electricity now, particularly with newer Teslas, when you plug it in, you don't have to do anything. It shows you on the dashboard. The car is registered to the network. It's so simple, and that is a huge advantage for Tesla and a massive worry for everyone else. And the public charging network is improving. It is bigger than people think. It is getting better. But we really, really need the simplicity of access, and I mean there's a lot of pressure. There's government legislation to encourage that, so it will happen. But when you use networks like Fastned in the Netherlands, it just works, and it's such a relief. And you don't get there thinking, oh, I don't know if I've got the right card. You plug it in, and it starts charging. You don't have to do anything. It's a brilliant system.
Fully Charged Live is back in the UK next June. That's going to be the biggie that we're all looking forward to.
A mixture of massive anxiety and excitement, as always. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be really good.
Despite banging on about EVs for years, the thing that switched my wife was the day she finally got in one, and then she was like, oh, right. Oh, yes, now we can buy one. Thank you very much. And it was like, there was... the getting people in them is a light bulb moment, and you're doing something about that at Fully Charged Live next year.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not 100% confirmed because we're still doing lots of arrangements. It's a complicated thing to do, but we have the plans in place to do a huge amount of test drives of every electric car that is currently commercially available in the UK. around the Stowe circuit. So it's a smaller circuit. You're not meant to race around the circuit, and there will be a person with you. You won't just be able to go off and thrash the hell out of it, because that's the thing that a lot of people who've never driven electric cars before are always surprised at, is the peppiness of them. They will go, even not performance ones will shift. So you'll be able to do 2 laps around the Stowe circuit, where we've just recently filmed a man called Nico Rosberg driving at 200 miles an hour. So it is possible to do that, but you will not be encouraged to do that sort of thing. There's going to be such a huge range of amazing conversions as well, because that was really popular this year, was the incredible cars that people are doing. So there's definitely a 1972 Ferrari that is now faster than it was when it was a Ferrari, with a Tesla drivetrain in it and batteries. It's extraordinary. And it's in mint, and it's been really well looked after, except the engine was a nightmare and constantly going wrong, the old Ferrari engine. So the owner sold the engine and has had it converted. It's nearly finished and it'll be ready for next year. So there's some beautiful machines there, bikes, skateboards, lovely food, music. There's going to be music this year, and amazing talks from really good people in a proper theatre that isn't full of noises from elsewhere. So it should be a lot. And the theatre, if fingers crossed, I think it is going to work, is going to be powered. So all the lights, the PA is powered from a Nissan Leaf going through a vehicle-to-grid charger. So we're really getting there.
Well, you were there this year, but
it was. Some people who arrived at about 11:30 on the Saturday and wanted a cup of tea discovered they'd run out. Because there were rather more people than we expected. So this year it won't run out. We've got the catering sorted.
Nice problem to have. Yeah. Congratulations on North America. Should we leave that for another time? Because Dan was tweeting about it last night.
No, I mean, he's mentioned it. So we are now at the moment. That's the problem. I can't remember the dates, but we are doing.
Well, I'll add it in.
A 2-day event at the Circuit of the Americas, Austin, Texas, in September of 2019, which we're very excited about. And I'm about to go there in the new year to go and meet all the people that are involved in that, to sort of launch it. But yeah, so that is definitely happening. Wow. And then there's even more in 2020, but I won't mention that now.
Let's not do that now. Today's about the Model 3. The Model 3. These guys are saying mid-2019. That seems to be when it's going to get to the UK. That's what they're saying.
It's so frustrating. I'm so desperate.
I want it now.
But I would love it if it was announced during May, and they're going, it'll be here in June, because that's when my lease runs out, and I'm desperate to, it would be so wonderful. So I have no idea. Yeah, because that great thing, like people say to me, "Oh, you know Tesla, you must know that." I said, honestly, I know less. When I talk to them, they clam up even more.
What's he going to say? He'll tell 100,000 people.
Not talk to Robert. Do not say anything to him.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've just popped out from the showroom for now. Robert Llewellyn's fully charged team have just turned up. Man, they have a lot of equipment for a YouTube show. I have an easy life with a podcast, a microphone and a tape recorder. Tape recorder, get me, how old am I? Whatever these things are that we record things on. So I'm just outside now looking through these huge glass windows, this beautiful Tesla showroom here. Let me get my thoughts together on that Model 3 that we're seeing in the UK here in London, Manchester for the very first time. I'm going to go back inside the bit between the service centre and the showroom. Is a little sit-downy area with some very nice cakes today with the number 3 printed on top. Some little cupcakes they've had made, and in icing has 3 on top. Nice touch. Let me get my thoughts together, and a free Tesla coffee. And give me a second, and I'll let you know the impressions from this morning. So welcome back to EV News Daily headquarters, back in the studio. So I did record a little bit afterwards over a coffee and some cake, but then I found out a couple more bits of information, and well, that would have meant that this bit was needed to be done again anyway. So in the end, I thought I would just have a little chat to you back home now after a really long day, after a fabulous day, just seeing the genuine excitement from reservation holders, and everybody who turned up this morning was a reservation holder. But even if you're not, go and check out the Model 3s. Because you have to see them and look at the design of it and how it works to really appreciate it. I think anyway, videos and pictures just don't do it justice. So those bits of news that I couldn't communicate earlier, that I was told about when I was there, and was told you can't tweet about this, but by the time your podcast is published, it will be live. You'll know by now when you're listening to this, the configurator in Europe is now open. If you're a reservation holder, check your emails. you might be able to configure. In the UK, that won't be open yet because, of course, we're waiting for right-hand drive cars, unlike left-hand drive in the rest of Europe. Early 2019, February 2019 is the left-hand drive deliveries. Right-hand drive, I was told, mid-2019. I asked some of the questions that you wanted me to put to them. And I totally understand that there are some questions I was going to ask where they just smiled and said, we don't know, or we can't tell you. Phil Roberts from Electric Future was first off the mark when I said I was going to go and see the team there and ask the questions. His two questions were when and how much. Well, when they could answer from mid-2019 for right-hand drive. How much? Well, that's the bit that they looked at me and said, we haven't announced UK pricing yet, so we can't exactly tell you. I mean, I'm sure it's still being decided, debated, maybe it's not. But anyway, that clearly wasn't even on the cards, not even for a kind of, well, we think it's going to be in this region. It was just a case of, we simply can't tell you. Then Ewan, Dr. Ewan McTurk, who I follow, his videos, by the way, go check out his Ewan McTurk is who you want to follow, or at 106 Ewan on Twitter. He explains battery technology and chemistry and how everything works in terms of EVs in such an amazing way, because being an expert in this, experts can sometimes speak a different language, but go and watch his videos because he explains them so that an idiot like me understands. He says, ask him to switch it on so you can see the speedo on the center console. Does it look practical? Yes, I can confirm. I got used to it within about 30 seconds. It's in the very top corner of the screen, and you really don't have to glance down. It's even, I would say, in your peripheral vision. Just as the speedo on your car in the center console is in your peripheral vision, but if you want to exactly stare at it, you do have to look down and then refocus, and then look up again and then refocus at the long distance. This is exactly the same. I didn't miss having a center console at all. Look down, slightly to the side, it's in your peripheral vision, refocus on the speed, and then you look ahead again. Really not a problem. Keith Johnston says, when will they introduce finance? And that was an interesting question because I asked it with a smile and said, you probably can't tell me. And they actually were very honest and said, that is an interesting question because finance works differently around the world from country to country. So the way finance works in the US, to do with everything from valuations and leasing and all those kind of things, works differently to Europe. Each different country has a different history and culture of finance as well. And so they said, actually, it's not an answer that we can give you a yes or no, but we do appreciate that the way that people buy their cars in the UK, and yes, we do offer finance at the moment on Teslas, and certainly if you go online right now, you can look at those finance examples, and I pretty much spent a lot of time looking at the used Teslas on the official site thinking, well, that was a nice Model S with free supercharging because it's old enough. And so they said, actually, yes, it's not a yes or a no, but we're very much aware of how people use finance in the UK, and it's all part of the conversations which are going on, but still nothing we can tell you at the moment. Sven Medhu says, any news about the hitch, as in, tow bar? Okay, no, I forgot to ask that. Very sorry. Didn't even think about towing anything with the Model 3, and so I'll look that up online. Jeremy Cook says, realistic delivery dates and method of shipment from US. Delivery date mid of the year, by the way, from summer onwards. Method of shipment on ship. Will first-day reservation holders receive priority or benefits? Not that I could find out. Free supercharging? No, you pay for your supercharging now. And can UK first-day reservation holders swap their order from right-hand drive to left-hand drive? I have 2 on reservation and own a property in mainland Europe, says Jeremy, and no, I couldn't find an answer out on that, but I know if you drop Tesla a line, they always get back to people. Sometimes it goes up the chain sometimes several steps up the chain, and then it comes down again, but you will always get an answer. And finally, Tesla S100D fan on Twitter says, here's my question, will they give you, Martin, one to drive for a while to give it a review? I did ask. Sadly not. However, yes, I'm sure that test drives at some point when they start building right-hand drive versions will be on the cards as well, just so we can get used to them on British roads, and everything is, of course, on the opposite side. And although that's the right side, I mean, literally, it's the right side for us when you think about things that have to be retooled in the factories and everything like that. I wonder what they'll do with the software in terms of the software on the central screen and moving things around the screen. So I imagine there's some software devs furiously working at the moment on those kind of solutions. What a fabulous day. Thank you very much to the team at Tesla for inviting me down. And what a team it was as well. I don't know whether more people were bought in for that, but there were loads of people down there, and they were all wearing black T-shirts with a massive white 3, which pretty much covered the whole of the front of their T-shirts. And as always, any experience I ever have, their customer service, their training, their levels of knowledge, just second to none. I'm sure that if I'd gone geeky, if I'd asked things like how many cells in the pack, they would have known. And I didn't, because it would be a weird thing to ask, right? Because you can look these things up online. But there was nothing that I asked today that didn't have an immediate answer. And so props to them as well for having everybody super well trained. I must say that about 8:30, when I was waiting in the little room next door with Robert and enjoying a coffee and a cake, then it was one of those when everyone kind of came out of their meeting rooms and stuff and all gathered together in a bit of a huddle. And you see this with really successful teams. There was like a 5-minute, not motivational speech, but someone was just giving the talk. Just, I imagine, I don't know, I was trying to earwig, but I couldn't hear. I imagine just saying, let's make today a really special day for everybody and put the customer first, all those kind of things that you experience when you go into a Tesla showroom. And everyone was super pumped as well. So brilliant, really good experience in terms of the people as well. And the cakes. I mean, the cakes were good. But I'll stop going on about that now. Well, thank you very much for listening to this little special that we made today. It has been a long day, but a brilliant day, and only made me even more excited about seeing the Model 3 here in Europe, left-hand drive, and in the UK, right-hand drive. If you are listening in Europe and you are a reservation holder, check that configurator, because you might be able to do it. And I think what I said all those hours ago this morning about the story really is a second wave of excitement. What I'm seeing now in person is what I was reading about and looking at YouTube videos 15 months ago when people were getting their very first, those real early cars as well. I've just been smiling all day, and it really is another wave of excitement. And certainly next year, actually between now and the end of the year, when people start to configure, it's going to be another wave of money. If you're into the kind of financial side of it all, it will certainly be another big cash injection as we open up the European and UK markets. Thank you for listening today. Just the usual sign off. If you would like to get involved in the show, you can do. Online, check out the blog, evnewsdaily.com, or any of the previous podcasts in the place you normally find podcasts. A mention, as always, to myev.com for helping me make this show. If you've got all excited now, like I have, about Teslas, then check out myev.com, because you can search for any EV electric car in the US on there. The stock is huge now, and maybe you're thinking, all right, let's have a look. Check out myev.com. Thank you to every Patreon who supports this show at patreon.com/evnewsdaily, patreon.com/evnewsdaily. And tomorrow, there's a couple of new patrons who have signed up. I will do that tomorrow, by the way. Tomorrow, big interview show. Holy moly, I almost got to the end of the show today without mentioning it. Big interview tomorrow. If you're into V2G, like I am, vehicle to grid, or V2H, vehicle to home, kind of obsessed with that. I think it's a really big thing that no one's cracked yet. We are talking to someone from Nuvei, a company that specialise in this. That is your Saturday special tomorrow interview. It's in the can. I'm busy making that at the moment. All of the Patreon support means I get to make this show for you. It does take a little while longer than it used to when we started doing this almost a year ago. It's totally worth it. Thank you for listening. Catch up on the socials. Search EV News Daily. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.